Welcome to week 5. To date, we've covered the types of dispute resolution most commonly used in the construction industry: negotiation, mediation, and arbitration. Arbitration, as we've seen, certainly has some legitimate concerns about different aspects of the process. So does litigation, and they both have some benefits. And we'll do a comparison of arbitration to litigation next week. This week, we're going to go back to the middle of that ADR continuum and look at some of the other procedures that are used in the construction industry. And there are several. The industry is very complex and very aware of the fact that that complexity leads to more disputes, and you need to have more ways of resolving them earlier on. Again, arbitration, litigation, they happen when the project is over, and for that reason alone, they're more expensive. So there's several other procedures that can be used during the life of the case, and that's what we're going to look at this week, and we're going to start with partnering. There's extensive reading in this week's assigned chapters in the arbitration and ADR handbook, so we're just going to give a very brief overview of partnering here. Partnering really is more of a strategic business management strategy as much as it is a dispute resolution process. It really began with other industries and started when construction companies started looking for other ways to resolve disputes, as they saw that going to court, just the process took too long, and that was money going out the door. They looked to successful alliances seen in the manufacturing and supplier relationships and how those relationships changed in the late 70s and early 80s, and from that, partnering was born within the construction industry. It was actually started in the private sector, but later embraced by many government agencies, and in particular the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And that success spurred the movement to really start using partnering in earnest. Getting partnering started is really a commitment made by the owner and the contractor as the project is getting underway. The implementation process begins with selection of an external person to serve as a facilitator. Like many of the other neutrals we've talked about, that person needs to be impartial, needs to be trained in the skills of a facilitator and a mediator, and should also have knowledge of the type of construction that will be used in this project. The parties and the facilitator get together in what's usually termed a kickoff meeting. And when we say parties here, it's in reference to the executive level and strategic management level staff. They're the ones who sit down and start identifying what are the common goals of this project, what are the issues we want to avoid, how do we structure our communication so that we are maximizing the value that each of us brings to this project and minimizing the problems that have traditionally plagued construction projects. Often what happens at these meetings is, as these agreements develop and goals are established, a document called a charter is created. Sometimes it is what you see in meetings of large pieces of paper on the wall and everyone making comments as the conversation flows, and those comments are recorded and then everyone signs it. Lately it's done more through use of technology. But note, whatever this charter or other name the parties give the document is, it is not a contract. It does not change the terms of the project documents. It does not create rights. It is simply a statement of what the parties have agreed to in terms of their partnering process. The charter also gives the parties something to look back on if things start to slide off track later. They will have that document and it can be used as a reminder. And that's one of the other very important parts about the partnering process. For it to be successful, there must be follow-up. The kickoff meeting is great, everyone's excited, but if there is not a continued schedule of meetings to review and refresh the agreements made in the partnering process about how communication is going to flow, maybe make some tweaks here and there to identify problems that have come up and better ways to handle them. If that follow-up is not done, then the partnering efforts were all for nothing. And another key function of a successful partnering plan is to have staff training. This cannot be something that is accepted just at the highest levels, but not brought down through every level of the project team. And there also has to be buy-in. It can't just be forced upon people. So it really needs to become a cultural shift in all of the organizations involved. Another thing to note is that the role of attorneys in the partnering process is limited. This is not an adversarial process, and it's not even resolving specific disputes. So attorneys' roles are often limited to coaching parties on how to participate in these meetings, perhaps identifying issues and problems that can come up if everyone is a little too collaborative, but they should not actually be participating in the partnering meeting. So to sum up, partnering fosters open communication, it recognizes and supports the common goals of the projects, it makes the parties focus on the issues, and that perhaps is something that gets lost in some of the descriptions about partnering. If the meetings are held on a regular basis, maybe they're just status checks, but everyone reviews what is going on in the project, where they are on the schedule, and reminds each other of their commitment to having as dispute-free process as possible. It is established early, it should go for the life of the project, and is used in conjunction with other forms of dispute resolution. So go through the reading that's assigned for this week and review the partnering process in more detail.